At the social event for my club, I found myself taking drinks on Chloe's behalf, trying my best to ignore the persistent, dull ache in my stomach. She, in stark contrast, was busy arranging for a special, soothing bowl of porridge to be brought over. But not for me. It was for a new freshman in her academic department. In that single moment, the entire 5-year history of our relationship felt profoundly and utterly meaningless. I went back to the apartment we shared, waited for her, and told her it was over. She was completely taken aback. "Over a bowl of porridge?" she asked, a disbelieving laugh in her voice. "Yeah," I confirmed. "Over a bowl of porridge." She chuckled as she walked out the door. "Fine. Let's just see how many days you decide to throw a tantrum this time." What she didn't realize, and couldn't possibly know, was that this wasn't a tantrum. I was genuinely leaving, and my flight to the United Kingdom was booked for the following month. It was during the spring semester of my second year of university when Chloe and I attended that club mixer, which was, in reality, a farewell gathering for the club's president, Sarah. As a senior, Sarah needed to devote her remaining time to her final graduation project and was planning to pass the leadership role on to Chloe. As expected, when we got to our seats, there were 2 shot glasses filled with some kind of strong liquor already set out for us. I instinctively reached for Chloe's glass first, got to my feet, and drank it down in one quick motion, making eye contact with the president. "Sorry we're late, Sarah. This one's my fault," I said. "Chloe is allergic to alcohol, so I'll take this for her." This evening was incredibly important for Chloe's ambitions. A smooth transition of power meant she would inherit control of the science club's main project, an assistive device designed for people with disabilities. The project was already in its final stages of development. It just needed a little more testing and a few minor adjustments to the code before it would be ready for a patent application, something that could be worth a significant amount of money. The alcohol felt like a hot trail burning its way down my throat, and the familiar ache in my stomach began to intensify. "Wow, Chloe, your boyfriend is way too good to you," someone from a nearby table commented. "He treats you like absolute royalty." Another voice chimed in. "Yeah, you two have been a couple for a long time, right? Should we be expecting to hear wedding bells anytime soon?" I wasn't sure if it was the liquor or the sudden memory of a promise Chloe had once made to me, but my face grew warm and flushed red. "This year we're—" Chloe quickly stood up, grabbing my arm and simultaneously pushing the second, still full shot glass into my hand. "Sarah, you're the guest of honor tonight. We can't be stealing your spotlight. As for us, that's a secret for now. You'll all find out when the time is right." "Ethan, how about we toast our president together?" I stared down at the full glass of liquor she had just forced upon me, hesitated for a brief second, then shut my eyes and tilted my head back, pouring the entire contents down my throat. A searing fire erupted in my chest, and the aching pain in my stomach grew heavier and more insistent. "All right, the man can really drink," Sarah exclaimed, starting a small round of applause. I quietly clutched my stomach as I settled back into my chair. Thankfully, after I had downed those 2 shots, no one else pressured me to drink more. I can actually handle my alcohol quite well. Because Chloe has an allergy, I've always been the one to drink in her place at social functions. Over the years, I naturally developed a high tolerance, but on this particular day, my chronic gastritis was acting up, and those 2 shots were far more than my body could comfortably handle. I thought several times about leaving early so I could take my medication and lie down, but I didn't want to cause a scene or embarrass Chloe. Just as I was about to signal a waiter for a glass of hot water, Chloe suddenly jumped up from her seat and hurried out of the room, a panicked look on her face. She had forgotten her phone. I assumed she was going outside to handle the bill, so I picked up her phone to bring it to her. The instant my hand made contact with it, the screen lit up. She never used a lock screen. A chat window that she hadn't bothered to close was displayed in plain view. The contact was named Silly Freshman Kevin. I remembered Chloe mentioning this guy from her department a few times, and I think we'd even been introduced once. He was a first-year student who had recently joined the club and was currently seated at a corner table on the far side of the room. I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that they were texting each other from opposite sides of the same small venue. Chloe, my stomach hurts so bad. The food tonight is way too spicy for me. I don't think I can take it anymore. Followed by a crying emoji. How did you manage to turn into such a crybaby again? Just leave it to your senior. I'll take care of it. You're the absolute best, Chloe. Love you, love you. Okay, stop being a smartass now. She had sent a cute cat emoji with that message. I'm going to order you a special soothing porridge. Okay, I'll be good and wait for you. Chloe had sent me that exact same cat emoji just a few days ago. At the time, I remember thinking it was strange that the usually cool and reserved Chloe, whose text replies were typically short and to the point like, K, oh sure, or was suddenly being so playful. Now I understood where it had come from. It was for her cute freshman. I casually scrolled up through their conversation history. Aside from the nauseatingly sweet messages, there wasn't anything that explicitly crossed a line. But in that moment, our entire relationship suddenly felt completely pointless. When Chloe returned carrying a steaming bowl of porridge, I grabbed my bag, mumbled, "I'm heading out," and walked directly out of the room without looking back. A jumble of voices followed me out into the hall. "Hey, Chloe, what's wrong with your guy? Aren't you going to go see what's up with him?" "Chloe, I hope he's not mad. Oh my gosh, you should go talk to him. I don't want you two to get into a fight because of me." That last one was Kevin's voice. "It's fine," I heard Chloe reply dismissively. "He throws fits like this all the time. Sarah's party is the most important thing tonight. I'll deal with him after we're done here. You, little guy, if you're not feeling well, go sit over there and drink your porridge. It'll help your stomach." The chaotic blend of their voices trailed behind me, but I didn't slow my pace. Her social circle was no longer any of my concern. When I arrived back at our apartment, instead of taking my medicine and lying down as I'd originally intended, I started to pack my things. At the party, the pain in my stomach had been so intense that I was breaking out in a cold sweat, but now I couldn't feel it at all. The source of the pain had shifted, moving to my chest, where it felt like a tearing sensation that made it difficult to breathe. From the closet to the storage bins under the bed and into the bathroom, it took me less than an hour to gather every single item that belonged to me. The dramatic scene often depicted in movies, where a tearful couple returns a truckload of sweet mementos after a breakup, wasn't going to be our story. For Chloe and me, ending our relationship was now as simple as speaking the words aloud. Ever since I had followed Chloe to this technology-focused university and we began renting an apartment together, we had spent the last 2 years growing closer on a superficial level, but in reality, we didn't even have a single decent photograph together. I piled my clothes and toiletries into a corner of the closet, then took out my phone and ordered a 24-inch suitcase online. My phone remained silent. There wasn't a single red notification dot. Chloe hadn't come after me, and she hadn't sent a single text message. I traced a slow circle over her profile picture with my finger, then finally gave in and decided to check her social media feed. 10 minutes ago, Chloe had pinned a new post to the top of her page. "Thank you for trusting me, Sarah. The future of our science club is bright." The post was accompanied by a photo of Chloe hugging a few of the senior girls and several large group shots. In the very last photo, her little freshman had managed to position himself right next to her, smiling sweetly at the camera and flashing a peace sign. Good. At least I wasn't in the picture, which would save her the trouble of having to crop or erase me from the image later. Just as I was about to delete Chloe's contact information, I heard the distinct sound of a key turning in the lock, and the front door was thrown open. "Ethan, What the hell is wrong with you today? Why are you freaking out like this? Let's break up, I said calmly. Chloe let out a heavy sigh, her brow furrowed with annoyance. She stepped toward me, attempting to wrap her arms around my shoulders and pull me into a familiar hug. Ethan, what's wrong? Are you angry? Did you see my phone? Then you should know that there's really nothing going on between him and me. He's just a freshman, new to campus, and we happen to be from the same hometown, so I was just looking out for him a little bit. His stomach was bothering him today, so I ordered him some porridge. That's all it was. Ethan, can you please not be so dramatic? If you don't like me talking to him, I'll make it clear to him, okay? I let out a bitter laugh, looked up into Chloe's beautiful but suddenly unfamiliar almond-shaped eyes, and pushed her arms away from me. Chloe, I said, let's break up. Fine. You'd better not come crying back to me, she snapped. Chloe stood up straight, and the hem of her long trench coat caught the starry nightlight that sat on the bedside table, knocking it over. The glass dome shattered into pieces on the floor. I'm not feeling well. I'm going to go to bed now. I paid for 6 months of rent on this place. You can be the one to leave. Just leave the key. Thanks. Fine. Let's just see how long you can stay mad this time. The door slammed shut behind her. Chloe left without a single backward glance, completely confident that in a few days I would come crawling back to her, begging her to return. But this time she would be waiting forever. I soaked my feet in hot water, changed the sheets on the bed, and sank into the soft mattress. My phone buzzed with a notification from a health app. Your Highness, you haven't taken your stomach medicine today. Remember to avoid raw, cold, and spicy foods. Don't drink alcohol or stay up late, and make sure to drink plenty of hot water. I laughed at the absurdity of it all, and gave the app a 5-star review. It was almost comical. A girlfriend of over 5 years couldn't even compare to the programmed concern of a virtual application. After starting university, I had only lived in the student dormitories for a little over a month. Chloe complained that she couldn't see me every day and missed me terribly, so I moved out to rent an apartment with her. Back in high school, I was consistently ranked in the top 10 of my grade in the liberal arts stream. To get into the same technology-focused university as Chloe, I made the difficult decision to switch from humanities to science. I spent my nights grappling with chemical formulas and complex mechanics problems, forcing myself to become a well-rounded academic machine. My scores on the college entrance exam were high enough to get me into Harvard, but I gave up that opportunity without a second thought, just to follow Chloe here. Chloe, in turn, poured all of her energy into her club's research project, vowing to secure a major patent before she graduated. To make our rent payment every month, I used my natural aptitude for languages to tutor students one-on-one whenever I had a spare moment. Sometimes, I would get back late from a tutoring session, and Chloe would massage my tired shoulders and back and draw a basin of hot water for me to soak my feet in. She would hold me tight, her chin resting on my shoulder, and whisper over and over again about the beautiful future we would have together. Ethan, as soon as I get the patent, we'll get engaged. We'll buy a big house, put it in your name, and I'll be the one to pay the mortgage. I waited and waited for that day, but it never came. In the more than 5 years we had been together, this wasn't the first time we had come close to breaking up. Within her social circle, I had developed a reputation for being moody and difficult. That reputation came about much like the story of the boy who cried wolf. Everyone in our academic department knew that we had been together since high school and had followed each other to the same university. We were seen as the model couple. The first time we fought badly enough to consider breaking up, her friends were genuinely worried, apologizing to me on her behalf and begging me not to be impulsive. That particular battle ended with Chloe spending 3 days and nights winning me back. The second time it happened, fewer people believed it was serious. Only a handful of them offered polite, sympathetic words, mostly just waiting for us to get back together on our own in a few days. By the third time, the underclassmen in our circle would just casually ask, "Hey, Chloe, is your guy throwing a fit again?" The upperclassmen would offer her advice, like, "He's a guy. Just humor him a little bit, and he'll be fine." And so she would go through the motions of trying to win me back. She bought me a new game console, but she had forgotten that I had stopped playing that particular game a long time ago. She took me out for a massive seafood feast and meticulously peeled shrimp for me. But she had forgotten that I was allergic to seafood. She wanted to get us matching couples t-shirts, but she misspelled my name, printing Ethan instead of Ethan. More than once I found myself asking, "Ethan, was it really worth wasting your entire youth enabling an amnesiac?" Now, whatever the answer to that question was, it didn't matter anymore. I called my academic advisor and informed her that I was ready to accept the offer to be an exchange student at Imperial College London. 2 days later, the suitcase I had ordered online arrived. I packed the things I had already neatly set aside. It wasn't a lot, but it was just enough to fill a 24-inch suitcase, the shredded remains of my youth. After a quick tidying of the apartment, I headed out to meet with my advisor to go over the necessary documents and details for the exchange program, and to thank her in person for her help. She was aware that my family wasn't well off, and even though she was less than 10 years older than me, she had always looked out for me like I was her own family. Without her full support and encouragement, I might not have secured this exchange student position. After we finished reviewing all the documents, I couldn't help but give her a grateful hug. Just at that moment, Chloe walked in, laughing and chatting with her little freshman. She passed right behind me, and an involuntary shiver ran down my spine. What terrible luck. Chloe and I were in the same department, but we had different majors, and our academic advisors happened to share an office. I ignored them completely, said a final goodbye to my advisor, and left the office. As I reached the turn in the staircase, my wrist was suddenly yanked backward. I turned around and was met with Chloe's furious gaze. "Ethan, you're breaking up with me because you're sleeping with your advisor? When did you two get so close? Have you been hooking up behind my back this whole time?" A wave of pure rage shot through me. I yanked my hand free and slapped her hard across the face. "Ah, Ethan, what are you doing?" Her precious freshman, who had been waiting obediently behind her, rushed forward, cradling Chloe's face in his hands and anxiously checking her over. "Chloe, are you okay? Does it hurt?" Kevin's cloying voice grated on my nerves. I had slapped her with considerable force. Chloe's head was turned to the side, and a small trickle of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. "Chloe, I'm not like you," I said, my voice cold. "My mind isn't constantly in the gutter, so you should watch your mouth." "Ethan, Looking at Chloe's busted lip, the old version of me would have been heartbroken. But now, I didn't feel even a shred of guilt. I just wanted her out of my sight. "And you," I said, turning my attention to Kevin. "Who gave you permission to call me by my first name? Do I even know you?" I wasn't even angry when I said it. I actually smiled as I took Chloe's hand and placed it in his. "But I suppose I should thank you, little freshman. You're so environmentally conscious, picking up someone else's trash." Kevin looked down at the floor, his eyes instantly turning red. He bit his lower lip, his eyes welling up with tears that refused to fall. "Ethan, this has nothing to do with Kevin. He doesn't know my advisor. I just brought him here to register for something. Don't give a kid such a hard time." I glanced at Chloe and thought about how utterly ridiculous she looked, standing there protecting Kevin. I was insulting her, but all she could do was accuse me of picking on another guy, completely absolving herself of any wrongdoing. I really didn't want to have to admit that I had spent the last 5 years of my life blindly in love with such a worthless person. I pushed them both away, mouthed the word pathetic at Chloe, and walked quickly out of the building without looking back. Back in my room, I was in a surprisingly great mood and ordered myself a full sugar milk tea, something I never used to drink. Chloe had always told me that drinking sugary things would make me fat, and I wouldn't look good on camera if she ever won an award and invited me up on stage with her. But that was her stage, not mine. What did it matter how I looked? I carefully went through all the documents in the folder one more time, and after confirming that everything was in order, I scanned them all and uploaded them to a cloud drive for safe keeping. My flight to the UK was scheduled for the 5th of the next month, which meant I had about 10 days left in the country. My advisor had already approved a week off for me, so I decided to use the opportunity to go back to my hometown. I chose to take the slow train back, wanting to really soak in the scenery along the way and to say a proper goodbye to the person I had been for the past few years. In the gently rocking train car, I went through every corner of every application on my phone, methodically deleting everything that was related to Chloe. But I had another, more secret reason for making this trip. Back in my hometown, buried under an old locust tree, were the love letters I had written to Chloe during high school. Letters that she never even knew existed. After getting off the train, I headed straight for the station exit, hailed an electric rickshaw, and after a few bumpy minutes, I was back in my small town. A few old men who were chatting at the crossroads recognized me instantly. They asked why I had come back by myself without Chloe. I just laughed it off, telling them that the university had staggered breaks this year, and it just happened to be my turn. I said I missed my grandpa, so I came back to stay with him for a few days. In a small town like this, information traveled incredibly fast. There were almost no secrets between neighbors. They had all just assumed that Chloe and I would eventually get married. It wasn't that I didn't want to tell everyone that we had broken up, but explosive news like that would spread from one person to 10, then to 100, and would eventually reach my grandpa's ears. If he found out, he would start worrying about me all over again. As for the lie I had told, it would fall apart on its own when I returned after my 2 years as an exchange student. Relying on fragmented memories from my childhood, I wandered around for a little while before I finally found the old locust tree. I hadn't had much strength back then, so I didn't bury the box very deep. It didn't take me long to dig it up. The small, square tin box was now covered in a thick layer of rust, its once beautiful printed design having long since peeled and faded away. I pried open the lid. Inside, the thick stack of letter paper looked as fresh and new as if I had written on it just last night. I took out the letters, ready to burn them, when a hand suddenly shot out and grabbed my wrist. The tin box clattered to the ground, scattering the letters everywhere. "Ethan, you tell me. What is this?" I turned my head. Chloe was standing there, her eyes bloodshot, her gaze dark and fixed intensely on me. She looked like a ghost that was haunting me relentlessly. I had only just gotten back to town, and she had already managed to follow me here. I should have known better than to take the train. It had wasted far too much time. Chloe pulled a folded sheet of paper from her coat pocket and slapped it against my arm. I glanced at it and understood immediately. The school's official announcement board had been updated with a notice congratulating the new exchange students. "It's written right there, isn't it? Can't you read?" Chloe's lips were pressed into a thin, tight line. She looked down, her hand gripping my wrist so forcefully that her eyes turned red. "Ethan, are you leaving me? We promised that once I got the patent, we would get engaged." "Chloe, we are completely over. Please stop harassing me." I pried her fingers off my wrist one by one, looked her straight in the eye, and spoke each word with deliberate finality. I won't break up with you. Ethan, just give me one more chance. I'll change anything you want me to. It's been 5 years. We've been together for 5 years. Can't 5 years of love outweigh this one time you got angry? You can't just leave me like this. What am I supposed to do without you?" I looked at her tear-filled eyes, and for a very brief moment a flicker of pity crossed my mind. But I knew that this small pang of pain was just a necessary ritual, a way of saying goodbye to the past. "What do you mean, what are you supposed to do? Chloe, you're an adult, and so am I. I am not your accessory. You won't die without me. I was your boyfriend, yes, and it was natural for me to take care of you. But the foundation of being your boyfriend is this. I am a person, an individual with my own thoughts and feelings. I am a man second, and your boyfriend third. Over the past 5 years, we both had plenty of chances to reflect and regret our choices. People who aren't right for each other are doomed if they try to force a relationship to work. Now, I don't want to be someone anymore. I just want to be myself again." Chloe didn't answer. She dropped to the ground and frantically began gathering a couple of the letters. Tears dripped down her face, soaking into the delicate paper. "Ethan, look. You said it yourself. You were going to marry me in your best suit with a custom-made bow tie, and the wedding would be decorated in blue. I can do all of that. I can—" "Don't go. Please don't leave me, okay?" "There's no need for that. That was the unrealistic dream of an 18-year-old Ethan. The me of today wants nothing." I knelt down, picked up the rest of the scattered letters, and without a moment's hesitation, flicked a lighter and set them on fire. More than 5 years of a shared life, as fragile as a cicada's wing, were instantly devoured by the hungry flames. "No!" Chloe threw herself forward like a madwoman, letting her clean white shirt sink into the mud as she tried to smother the fire with her body. A sudden gust of wind swirled past, and the burnt fragments of paper flew into the air, continuing to burn as they danced away. Like moths drawn to a flame, they all eventually fell back to the earth as nothing more than ash. I gently wiped away a single tear that the smoke had drawn from the corner of my eye. This scene, it was truly beautiful. I went back to my grandpa's house, and Chloe shamelessly tagged along behind me. I didn't have the energy to argue with her anymore, so I just let her. The moment I stepped through the front door, the rich aroma of chicken soup hit me, so fragrant that it made my mouth water. That old man. As soon as he had gotten my call yesterday, one of the chickens in the yard had surely met its fate. "Grandpa, I'm home!" I buried my head in my grandpa's small, thin embrace and couldn't resist picking him up and spinning him around in a circle. Come, drink some of this ginseng chicken soup first. It'll build you up. You're getting as skinny as a beanpole these days. Oh, look, Chloe came back with you. Go on, get Chloe a bowl and some chopsticks." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. She has her own hands and feet. Can't she get them herself? "Hey, what's gotten into you today, kid?" "It's okay, Grandpa. I'll get it. Chloe got herself a bowl and chopsticks and didn't dare to sit next to me, choosing a spot at the far corner of the table instead. "What's going on with you two? Did you have a fight?" Grandpa asked as he placed a large chicken drumstick in both my bowl and Chloe's, just like he always did. "Chloe, I remember when you were little. You were always so protective of our Ethan. Now that you're all grown up, you can't be the one bullying him, you hear? I'm an old man, and he's the only precious thing I have to entrust to you." My breath caught in my throat, and my mind flashed back to when I was 12 years old. That was when Chloe's family had just moved into our neighborhood. Her mother was a real estate developer in charge of the local scenic area and was planning to develop an ancient town there. The project kept getting delayed, so they bought a house and settled in for the long haul. Chloe was the second child in her family and had an older sister. She was never as good as her sister in either academics or athletics, so she was mostly left to her own devices. One day I was by the river, scrubbing at a jacket that a classmate had deliberately smeared with paint. No matter how hard I scrubbed, I couldn't get the stain out. I had been squatting for too long and got a cramp in my leg. When I tried to stand up to stretch, my foot slipped, and I fell into the river. The river wasn't actually that deep. If I could have just straightened up and doggy-paddled a little bit, the water wouldn't have gone over my head. But my leg was completely useless. The cold water made the cramp even worse, and all I could do was sink helplessly. It was Chloe who saved me. She waded into the mud and dragged me to the shore. I coughed a few times and woke up, soaked to the bone. My white shirt, heavy with water, clung to my body, revealing the old-fashioned student undershirt I wore beneath. Our eyes met for a moment, and we both blushed and turned away. That day I went home wearing Chloe's clothes. She had given me not only her jacket, but also her long-sleeved shirt from underneath. I heard later that she went home wearing only a thin undershirt, her lower body completely covered in mud. When her mother saw her, she thought Chloe had been in a fight and gave her a solid beating with a clothes hanger. After that day, neither of us said a word about what happened, but an ambiguous tension grew between us until high school, when we naturally became a couple. We promised to go to the same university, get married after graduation, and stay together forever. Once, she really did protect me well. When a large dog was chasing me and I was about to climb a tree in a panic, she grabbed a wooden stick from the ground and stood in front of me. My parents had died in an accident when I was very young, and my grandpa raised me all by himself. I was always smaller and thinner than the other kids my age. Chloe would bring me snacks from her house every day, and over time, she actually managed to fatten me up a little bit. Later, the real estate market declined, and her mother faced a financial crisis, forcing her to sell off some of her assets to cover the losses. Chloe proactively gave up her chance to inherit the remaining family resources, choosing instead to go to college with me and become self-reliant. But was that really the truth of what happened? Sometimes, a sugar coating hides a rotten, dried-out fruit that's already full of holes. The day Chloe saved me, I had already seen her standing on the opposite bank of the river while I was washing my clothes. She had started to walk away, but I guess she realized the water wasn't that deep and decided to come back and rescue me after all. At that tender age of first love, my hormones romanticized the entire event, and I couldn't stop myself from falling head over heels for my savior, just like in a fairy tale. That big yellow dog that had chased me? I saw it several times after that, jumping into Chloe's older sister's SUV. As for the family resources she claimed to have given up, it didn't really matter whether she abandoned them or not. Her mother's chosen heir had always been her older sister. And yet, because of her supposed self-reliance, I gave up on studying liberal arts and chose to study science with her. I was completely overwhelmed myself, but I still helped her patch up her academic weaknesses, allowing her to become a dark horse on the college entrance exams. Her charity, her protection, her so-called deep love. It was all conditional, built on the premise that it would never harm her own interests. From the beginning to the end, the only person she ever truly loved was herself. A shrill ringtone pulled me from my thoughts. Chloe looked at me, her face a mask of awkwardness. "Answer it. It's your phone. Why are you looking at me?" "Grandpa, I'm full. Let's go to the other room. I brought you something good." Seeing me lead Grandpa toward the bedroom, Chloe finally let out a sigh of relief and answered the call. But she seemed to have forgotten that to preserve the ancient town's unique character, the houses here were never torn down and rebuilt. They were all self-built homes with terrible soundproofing. "Sob. Chloe, where did you go? When are you coming back?" "I had to go home for something. What's wrong?" "Sob. A bug suddenly appeared while I was running the data tests, and a whole section of the raw data is gone. The other guys are all blaming me, but I really didn't mean to do it. What should I do?" Cry, cry, cry. That's all you ever do. Does crying solve anything? You're in your 20s now. Can't you stop being so childish? Chloe, Okay, stop it. I'm really busy here. I'll be back in a couple of days. Just leave it for now. I'll handle it when I get back. I'm hanging up if there's nothing else. I couldn't help but let out a snort of laughter. When I was with her, everyone thought I was the one who was too moody. Now her little freshman cries a few times, and suddenly he's the childish one in her book. And she, Chloe, always managed to make herself invisible in any conflict. The fact that our relationship had crumbled was ultimately impossible to hide from my grandpa. I gently hugged him, cutting off the confused look on his face, and pressed a brown paper package into his hand. It was the money I had managed to save over the past 2 years. Grandpa, I'm grown up now. I can protect myself. I don't need to depend on anyone else. You have to believe in your grandson. I took some time to explain my plan to be an exchange student in the UK for the next 2 years. I also made him promise not to be cheap with himself, to eat well, sleep well, and get regular checkups at the local clinic. I decided to head straight back to the university instead of staying the night. When Chloe saw me heading for the door, she immediately chased after me. Ethan, give me one more chance. Please. Just add me back as a contact, okay? I promise. From now on, if you tell me to go east, I'll never go west. As soon as I get back and secure the patent, I'll beg my mom to let me study in the UK for 2 years too. We'll never have to be apart again. And when we come back, we'll get married. I completely ignored her pathetic performance. On the way to the main road, plenty of familiar faces saw us, one trailing the other, and started whispering amongst themselves. As I reached the main road, the red electric rickshaw I had booked was already waiting for me. I hopped in, smiled, and waved the plane ticket I had already purchased at Chloe. Miss Chloe, go get your patent, or study abroad, or whatever it is you want to do. It all has nothing to do with me. I won't be joining you for your future. Driver, let's go. To the airport. I flew back to the university, which was much faster than the slow train I had taken on the way there. The first thing I did was find my landlord and explain that I would be moving out next month. I asked if I could get back half of my security deposit and the rent I had already paid for the extra months. The old man agreed immediately, saying he would have no problem returning the entire deposit. He said that if I hadn't been living there for the past year, he, a lonely old man, would have probably gone crazy from boredom. Then he asked the question I was expecting. Ethan, what about that young lady you were always with? I haven't seen her around here lately. Sir, we broke up. Ah. He sighed, hesitated for a moment, and then patted my back gently. It's for the best. This old man may be old, but I've long thought that she wasn't good enough for you. Sir. You. Why would you say that? The landlord simply took my hand and sat me down on the stairs next to him. I'm old, and I don't sleep very well. I'm usually awake by 4 or 5 in the morning. I often see you from my second-floor window, just sitting alone on these steps. It hit me then. Those must have been the times Chloe and I had fought, or when I was wrestling with my own thoughts, unable to let go of things and suffering from insomnia all night. She was never with you, he continued. It was always just you, sitting on the steps, staring into space, or quietly wiping away tears. At 4 or 5 in the morning, she was probably sound asleep in your bed. Ethan, you promise me this. No matter how much she begs you, don't you dare go soft on her again. This old man hasn't accomplished much in his life, but I've lived a long time and seen a lot of things. Listen to me. A young man has to learn to love himself more. By the time I came back to my senses, 2 deep tear tracks were already on my face. All the pain and sadness I had endured alone for the past 2 years. Someone had known about it all along. I hugged the old man tightly. Thank you, sir. Thank you for understanding me. From now on, I will live only for myself. I called a moving service, carelessly packed all of Chloe's things into bags, and had the driver take them all to her place. Chloe actually had a small villa in this city that her family had bought for her a long time ago. Otherwise, how could she have remained so calm all these days after I kicked her out, without even taking a change of clothes with her? She thought she was playing the role of the down-on-her-luck second daughter, who had had a falling out with her mother, but she never knew that I was just playing along with her performance the whole time. No matter how much her mother had lost in recent years, their family's wealth was unshakable. And Chloe, even if she couldn't compare to her older sister, was still the family's precious daughter. How could her mother ever bear to cut ties with her completely? She was addicted to my unconditional devotion. So even though her daily allowance could easily cover our monthly rent, she pretended to squeeze into this tiny apartment with me, enjoying the sight of me bustling around and taking care of her. It was time for the curtain to fall on this absurd play. Let the rich girl and the poor boy go back to their own separate lives. A week later, I landed in the United Kingdom. The university even sent a tall, handsome upperclassman to pick me up at the airport. I was so starstruck I could barely walk straight. I was back to living in a dormitory. My new roommates had a kind of worshipful filter for people of Chinese descent, and were constantly pestering me to tell them about the mysteries of Eastern history. I quickly made a ton of new friends and built a full and active social life. I was no longer living in someone else's shadow. 2 months passed like this, and I had long since pushed all the old drama to the back of my mind. During a break between classes, a trending topic from my old university's online forum popped up on my phone. I had kept the forum bookmarked for checking competition registrations and other public announcements. I never expected to see Chloe go viral on it, even from halfway across the world. It all started when a rival university's club, which had always been in competition with ours, applied for a patent for an assistive device for disabled people at the exact same time as Chloe did. What made the situation even more dramatic was that both patent applications were rejected. It was discovered that the submitted data models were identical, right down to the very same flaws. One of the parties involved was clearly guilty of plagiarism. The review board didn't care who had copied whom. They simply blacklisted both teams permanently, banning them from applying for any future patents. Chloe finally realized that the data Kevin had been crying about on the phone that night wasn't lost due to a bug. It was all an act he had put on while he was stealing it. She confronted Kevin, who, to her surprise, openly admitted to everything. He was the cousin of a senior member of the rival university's club. He had gotten close to Chloe only to infiltrate her club and steal their data. They had a massive fight. Kevin called Chloe a useless hack, saying her data model wasn't even complete, and that she was a disgrace for even submitting it for a patent. He had thought he could get a leg up on the competition, but now they had both crashed and burned. Chloe lost her temper and physically attacked him. The university administration had to step in to mediate the situation. A big scandal like this wouldn't be good for the school's reputation, so they pushed for a reconciliation. In the end, Chloe took a 1-year leave of absence from the university. The post was made by a student reporter who loved gossip. I figured it would probably be deleted once it got too much attention. I scrolled through the comments and saw that people were even getting sidetracked and discussing my past relationship with her. There was a popular reply in one of the threads, posted under his real name by Kevin himself. Yeah, I know what I did was shady, but she's a classic case of a selfish, cheating woman who's always looking for the next best thing. The fact that she fell for such a low-level trick just proves she never deserved her ex-boyfriend in the first place. I replied to him directly and without any hesitation. Yeah, thanks for that. I'm being serious this time. The truth is, Chloe could have succeeded. I had been involved in the initial design of the project and had found a flaw in it back then. To surprise Chloe, I secretly ran multiple tests, fixed the bug, and saved the corrected data in our private cloud folder. I was hoping she would find it one day and pull me into a fierce, triumphant hug. but she hadn't accessed that folder in over 6 months. Even now, she probably hadn't thought to look. After we broke up, of course, I shut the folder down for good. If she had bothered to check it even once in the last 6 months, she wouldn't have ended up in this mess. At the very bottom of the comments section, someone was spamming the thread with random posts, including several candid photos of Chloe and me together. My classmates, sitting around me, saw that I was just staring at my phone, completely unresponsive, and crowded around to see what I was looking at. "Whoa, who's that girl? Is that your girlfriend from back in China?" Then, someone tapped my shoulder from behind. "Hey, Ethan, is the girl in that picture the same one who's standing outside?" My classmate pointed out the window. I looked up and saw Chloe standing in the hallway, holding a huge bouquet of roses. Chloe was dressed very formally. She had lost a lot of weight, and there were dark circles under her eyes. It seemed the patent failure had hit her hard. She walked towards me with a look of deep emotion on her face, the roses in her hands nearly engulfing her entire upper body. The spectacle was so big that people from the next classroom came out to watch. "Ethan, I've made up with my family. I took a leave of absence, and my mom agreed to let me come here to study for a year." She hesitated for a moment, then suddenly dropped to one knee and held out a small, red velvet box. "Ethan, I know how much of a bastard I was. I'm not even human, but I was just confused for a moment. Please, can you give me one chance to make it up to you?" I looked at her coldly, covered my nose with my hand, and swatted the bouquet she was holding up so desperately out of her hands. "Chloe, if your brain isn't working right, you should go see a psychiatrist. We've broken up. I could report you for harassment right now. Oh, and you know what? Maybe I'll just report you for assault. I'm allergic to pollen. Did you really have the nerve to bring a bouquet this huge, hoping I'd drop dead on the spot?" She looked stunned and scrambled back to her feet, trying to grab me. "Ethan, I'm sorry! I didn't know you were—" "No need to apologize. What happens to me is none of your business. Miss Chloe, please stop harassing me. You're making me sick." The crowd of onlookers, who had been expecting a touching long-distance reunion, realized the drama was taking an unexpected turn. They quickly surrounded me, asking if I was okay. I linked arms with my handsome roommate and said in a soft voice, "It's okay. She's just a stalker from back home. I can't believe she followed me all the way here." Even across the globe, the word stalker had the same effect. They were not happy. The female students, all of them with legs that seemed a mile long, formed a human wall. Chloe couldn't get through, and could only walk away defeated. After that day, Chloe still didn't give up. She didn't dare get close to me, but she lingered like a ghost I couldn't shake, always watching me from a distance. She secretly took pictures of me, developed them, and wrote long, meaningless love letters on the back. I tore them all up without a second glance. She sent people to deliver piles and piles of gifts to me. She even went to the derivative threads of that old forum post to ask what I liked, only to find that I had no social circle at my old university. My entire life had revolved around her. I bought a huge shelving unit and put it up downstairs in my dorm, piling all her gifts on it with a note written in English. "Help yourself. Everything is free. After a while, one of the senior girls couldn't stand it anymore. She approached me and offered to pretend to be my girlfriend to help get rid of Chloe. I refused. A spoiled, rich girl like Chloe, who had never known any real hardship, wouldn't last long. She'd give up and go home soon enough. I joined a club here too. I chose the Outdoor Extreme Challenge Club, something I would never have even considered in the past 2 years. Recently, the club organized an outdoor rock climbing competition. I had never tried it before, thought it sounded exciting, and signed up. The location was a scenic spot, so there were already plenty of tourists milling around. Chloe, a little bolder now, blended in with the tourists and stood behind me to watch. It started off smoothly, But when I was just a short distance from the top, I suddenly got nervous, and my palms became slick with sweat. My foot slipped. I missed the next hold and fell. My body was plummeting, but the scene before my eyes seemed to slow to a halt. I saw Chloe hesitate. In the end, she didn't push through the crowd. She stayed right where she was. If she had taken just one step forward, she could have broken my fall. But she hesitated. Sure, we were both wearing safety ropes. Even if I fell, I wouldn't die. There was no real danger. But in that moment, the last tiny spark of hope I had held for her deep in my heart finally went out. I resigned myself to the jolt of the rope pulling me taut. But then a girl rushed forward and tried to catch me. The impact was too great. I was cushioned slightly, but I still sent her crashing hard to the ground. I landed beside her and heard her let out a muffled groan. Her arm seemed to be bent at an unnatural angle. I scrambled up, called over some classmates I knew, and we helped get her to the hospital. My face was cold as I walked past Chloe in the opposite direction, not even giving her a passing glance. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. The hand she had raised to try to stop me fell limply to her side. Raina never bothered me again. The girl who had tried to save me turned out to be in my class. We hadn't really interacted before. I had only just learned her name was Olivia. Out of a sense of guilt and gratitude, I went to the hospital to visit her every day after class. The beautiful young woman was very direct with me. She told me she'd had a massive crush on me since the first day I came to her class and had been nursing it in secret ever since. She asked if I wanted to try dating her. I still refused. Olivia, I'm really glad to have met you and to be your friend. I'm visiting you every day to thank you for helping me. But I can't start a relationship with you because of that. I've only just gotten to know you, and it wouldn't be fair to you or to me to rush into things. Olivia blinked her dark green eyes, her long lashes fluttering like a curious child. What if I don't mind? Still no? I peeled an apple for her, smiled, and stuck a piece in her mouth, silencing her 1,000,001 questions. That's right. Still no? A week later, Olivia was discharged from the hospital. My classmates were still shaken by my accident. They felt that my relatively frail frame was better suited to teaching them about Eastern culture than to engaging in such strenuous activities. My professor actually agreed. There was a seminar on East-West cultural differences coming up, and after getting my consent, she signed me up to be a speaker. On the day of the speech, I stood under the spotlight with my hair cut short and neat, wearing a crisp white shirt, feeling confident and self-assured. Chloe, who had been gone for 2 months, sat silently in a dark corner of the auditorium, like a mouse hiding in the shadows. I glanced over in her direction, but I couldn't make out her features. I realized with a start that I had already forgotten what she looked like. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be on stage today to share some of my thoughts. My name is Ethan, and I'm from China. You all know the story of Snow White, right? But have you ever wondered why did the prince instantly fall in love with the princess after she kissed him awake? And did the princess even have the prince's consent for that kiss? In my country, we have a famous story, too, about the cowherd and the weaver girl. In that story, the weaver girl used magic to trap the cowherd in the heavens, forcing him to stay with her. Through daily contact, he eventually became her husband and fathered her children. After the cowherd returned to the mortal world, their one meeting a year was celebrated as a beautiful romance. But was the cowherd really in love with the weaver girl back then? Whether it's in the East or the West, beneath the surface of these beautiful fairy tales, you often find the impulsive decisions or reluctant obligations of boys. But this is a new era, an era where we have complete control over our own destinies. Guys, if you ever find yourself addicted to sweet poison, don't panic. What you need to do is see the truth, face it, and get out in time. If someone isn't right for you, you need to walk away. If there's something you don't want to do, you need to say no out loud. The road ahead is one we must walk for ourselves." The hall erupted in thunderous applause. I looked toward the auditorium exit. Chloe's gray silhouette faded away, and the arched doorway returned to its warm yellow glow. In a direction without her, the sun was warm, and the future was bright.